Please don't turn it off. The most interesting part is at the end. If you watch it till the end, you'll understand why.
This is a story about two worlds divided, not merely by an ocean, but by their very philosophy of life. Let us travel back to the 1960s and 70s and see what living beautifully meant on both sides of the Iron Curtain. Prologue. Two shop windows. Imagine the year 1972. In New York, a stockbroker gets into his chrome-plated Cadillac to drive to the airport and fly to Las Vegas for the weekend. On that very same day in Moscow, an engineer, through immense effort, gets hold of a coveted roll of Yugoslavian wallpaper through an acquaintance and feels like a king, because his neighbor doesn't have such wallpaper and never will. The Cold War was not only an arms race and a rivalry in space. It was a war between two ways of life, and the understanding of luxury here reveals the essence of the systems more deeply than any political treatise. If luxury in the USA was a commodity that could be bought, then luxury in the USSR was a trophy that had to be seized in battle against scarcity. Part 1. The American Dream on Wheels and the Soviet Privilege. In 1960s America, the automobile became not just a means of transportation, but a manifesto of personality. Detroit was producing masterpieces of tail-fin style. The '68 Cadillac Eldorado is not a car. It's a spaceship almost 6 meters long. Open the door, and the smell of leather, tobacco, and cologne envelops you. The seats are soft sofas, and under the hood lies an 8.2-liter engine. In the Lincoln Continental, the doors opened toward each other, and the rear seats were more spacious than some living rooms. An American buying such a car was telling the world, "I made myself, and I'm doing well." There were no waiting lists here. You simply had to walk into a dealership with money or a good credit history. Now let's move to the Soviet Union. Here, any automobile automatically made a person a member of the elite. In the 1970s, 99% of citizens didn't even dream of owning a personal car. The people's main dream was the Volga Gaz 24. To buy one, you had to join a garage cooperative, wait in line for 5 to 10 years, and, of course, have connections. It cost around 15,000 rubles, while an engineer's salary was 120 to 150 rubles. But the true, unattainable luxury was the Chaika Gaz 13. It was never sold for personal use, with the rarest of exceptions. Only ministers, regional committee secretaries, and world-renowned academicians rode in Chaikas. A black lacquered giant, upholstered in gray velour, with an automatic transmission and a push-button radio. It was a symbol of absolute, divine power, not merely wealth. Part 2. My home is my castle, or my fortune. In the USA, the concept of the good life is inextricably linked to the suburbs. The post-war baby boom created a cult of the large family, which needed a large house. The perfect picture, a colonial-style house with a white picket fence. Inside, 4 bedrooms, so each child could have their own room. A living room with a fireplace, a kitchen diner combined with a laundry room. Built-in wardrobes, pantries, a 2-car garage, and in the backyard, a sparkling turquoise pool and lounge chairs. The air conditioner hums, creating coolness in the Texas heat. Luxury, American style, is space multiplied by technical comfort. In the USSR, the concept of housing luxury was different, often tragic in its contrast. The country had still not recovered from the wartime devastation. Luxury number 1 was considered to be a separate apartment, not a room in a communal flat where there were 4 stoves in the kitchen and an eternal war for cleanliness, but one's own fortress. In the 1960s, mass construction of Khrushchevkas began. Small-sized apartments with low ceilings and a combined bathroom. To receive such an apartment was a divine gift. But the true chic was considered to be the furnishing. A GDR-made wall unit took up an entire wall and was filled with crystal and books. The crystal wasn't just washed. It was re-washed every Saturday, and the shine in the sideboards signified social status. And having a dacha on 600 square meters, where one could grow potatoes, and a Zhiguli car to get there, made a Soviet person a celestial being, envied by the entire department. Part 3. Technological Paradise and Trophy Equipment. By the late 1960s, the American kitchen had turned into a futuristic workshop. A dishwasher, a toaster, a mixer, and the ultimate marvel, the Amana Radar Range microwave oven. An air conditioner in every window, and in the living room, a massive Zenith color television, in front of which the whole family gathered to watch the moon landing. The hi-fi stereo system reproduced sounds so pure you could hear the vocalists breathing. All of this was freely available on installment plans. The Soviet person, meanwhile, lived in a world where even an ordinary ZIL refrigerator required months of waiting. A black and white Rubin TV, or later, a color Raduga set, was bought once and meant to last for decades. But the true luxury, almost mystical in nature, was imported equipment. A Japanese Sharp double cassette recorder, or a German Blaupunkt, could cost 1,000 to 1,500 rubles, nearly an annual salary. Yet getting one was even harder. Places of pilgrimage included commission shops and flea markets. If someone brought back a VCR from an overseas assignment, it became an event for the entire neighborhood. People looked at such a device not as a piece of technology, but as proof that another, beautiful and inaccessible universe existed in parallel. Part 4. Jeans as a manifesto, and fur as the norm. In the United States, the status clothing of the 60s and 70s was, above all, designer pieces and natural furs. Mink coats, Christian Dior dresses, custom-tailored Wall Street men's suits. But American consumer society was so saturated that fashion also veered into rebellion. The expensive ripped jeans of hippies also became part of luxury style. There, clothing was a means of self-expression amidst abundant choice. In the USSR, however, clothing became a battlefield of ideologies. The main fetish of the era of developed socialism was jeans. Simple blue indigo pants. But only the real ones, Levi's, Wrangler, or Lee. People would pay 180 to 200 rubles for them, a young specialist's salary for a month and a half, and sometimes an entire saved-up vacation budget. Why? Because jeans were a symbol of freedom, a denial of state-imposed scarcity. They were bought from black marketeers under the Cosmos or in tourist hotels. They were boiled in pots to achieve the beautiful white varionka effect. Owning Adidas sneakers and a leather biker jacket made a teenager the king of the neighborhood. And Christian Dior or Estee Lauder perfume was a treasure, cherished for years. Part 5. The taste of freedom versus the taste of scarcity. An American's shopping trip to the supermarket is a riot of color. Fresh salmon, marbled beef, avocados, steaks as thick as your palm, and endless rows of alcohol from Jack Daniel's whiskey to French wines. Going to a restaurant and eating lobster was expensive, but affordable for the middle class on special occasions. In the Soviet Union, food was a special art form. Store shelves were packed with canned goods like tourists' breakfast, sprats in tomato sauce, and milk in triangular cartons. But true luxury was considered something you couldn't simply buy with a ruble. Smoked servelat sausage at 4.50, imported Finnish Viola cheese in small tubs, Nescafé instant coffee sold by coupon in New Year's gift packages, and a jar of red caviar or bananas brought from somewhere. In 1970s Moscow, people would line up in queues for bananas. It was sheer chic to put Moroccan oranges and Indian tea with the elephant on the holiday table. The ultimate status symbol was alcohol. Imported Havana Club rum or White Horse whiskey purchased at the hard currency Berioska shop, where ordinary citizens had no business being. Luxury, Soviet style, meant putting on the table in front of your guests something that was impossible to find. Part 6. The Geography of Freedom and the Geography of Restrictions. By the late 1960s, jet aviation had shrunk the world for Americans. A tourism boom swept through the middle class, flying to Hawaii in a suit, sipping a martini in the cabin of a Boeing 707, or heading to Las Vegas for a Frank Sinatra show. That was the standard vacation of a successful bourgeois. European tours were filled with boutique shopping. The Soviet citizen lived behind the armored door of the Exit Visa Commission. A trip to socialist Bulgaria to the Golden Sands Resort was considered a sign of the party's highest trust. People underwent interviews and character references from their workplaces just to dip into the same sea as the rest of the world. A journey to a capitalist country, Finland, for instance, was a mark of colossal privilege, accessible only to traveling diplomats, artists, and the nomenklatura. Returning from there with a string bag full of clothes meant becoming a local legend. Domestic tourism in Sochi or Yalta also demanded heroic efforts to obtain tickets and bookings. A hotel room with hot water and a sea view alone could be a luxury. Part 7. The Whisper of Rock and Roll. In an American suburb, a teenager's room held a record player with albums by Elvis Presley and the Rolling Stones. Parents bought tickets to Woodstock or grand-scale concerts. The music market was gigantic. In the USSR, all the musical splendor of the West seeped through the eye of a needle. The very chance to touch the forbidden fruit was considered a luxury. Bone records, X-ray films onto which Beatles songs had been recorded in a makeshift manner, were sold under the counter. A reel-to-reel tape recorder on which one could listen to Vysotsky or band rock music was an altar in every intellectual's apartment. Owning a high-quality recording of Pink Floyd or Deep Purple was as prestigious as having the right last name and a purebred dog. Epilogue. How is luxury measured? So we come to the main difference, one that is worth more than any money. In the United States, luxury was horizontal. It was measured by the degree of comfort, technology, and ease. I have something better, newer, and faster than others. It was a market working to make life more convenient. It was a positive vector of consumption. In the Soviet Union, luxury was vertical. It was an elevator that lifted you above the gray masses. It was measured not by the quality of function, but by the very fact of possession. I have something that others do not. This luxury did not relax you. It demanded constant nervous tension, the pursuit of connections, overpayments, and careful storage. Jeans or bananas, ordinary for an American, in the USSR became a symbol of dissent and personal freedom. Behind every object was the story of how it was obtained. An American, buying a Cadillac, simply wrote a check. A Soviet person, acquiring a Grundig tape recorder, was writing himself a pass to another world, one without the Iron Curtain. And perhaps that is why Soviet people felt the taste of things so acutely. Because for them, luxury was not just about money. It was a victory. A small victory of the individual over a system that told him, be like everyone else. And through those jeans, that caviar, and those Beatles records, he answered back, "No, I am an individual."